In part 3 of lesson 59, we're looking at distance control, but with loft. The putter has 3 or 4 degrees and my sand iron has 56. So we've moved locations from the running shots we just did earlier. I've now, as if I was on the golf course, it's like I've short-sided myself. I've missed green on the wrong side. There's only about 6 or 7 feet of green to work with. So I can endeavour to putt, and on a links course it would work. But on this more parkland type of turf, I've got to hit the ball pretty hard to get the ball onto the putting surface, and then difficult to judge once it gets onto the surface. And on that one, it's probably about as good as I could do. But you can see the problem, the ball's rolling through the sort of apron at speed, and once it gets up the bank, it can go scooting on. So, if you've got a tight lie, then a putter would be your first choice. Okay, so on that occasion, as you can see, I've left it short. So, it's a little bit easier to use a 6-iron for distance control into the bank, but try not to stab it. Some people will stab the shot into the bank, like that. And the thing is, if you stab it, you really don't know what the ball's going to do on its first bounce. The trick is to use the 6-iron like a putter, and then run the ball in. And of course you can see the ball takes off for a little while. But now again, the ball deflected off to the right, and it's quite difficult to get the lie exactly right. That was a good one because it hit the other ball. But you can see the point. Once that ball gets on the green, it's travelling fairly quickly. However, if the ball's lying tight, you might have no option. You might not fancy a sand iron or lob wedge off a tight lie, but there's a little bit of grass there, you might. So here we go, 6-iron chip and run into the bank. And there we go. I got that one nicely, and I got the pace right. Okay, after 4 attempts, not too difficult. So, going to the sand wedge, we're going to get a different proportion of roll and carry. Now, the moment we're engaged in getting the ball to go high, it's harder to judge distance. So just imagine I was asking you to throw a ball into a bucket where the flag is and throwing the ball upwards. If I'm throwing the ball upwards, it's hard to get the depth right. It was quite easy rolling the ball, but once we go for trajectory, it becomes trickier. However, I've got to convince myself it's the same. But this is a weaker putter, 56 degrees of loft on this putter compared to the actual putter. Now, as I said earlier, when you hit a putter 10% harder, it goes 10% further. When you hit a sand iron 10% harder, 9 of those percent go into up. So, I've got to imagine that I'm still sending the ball forward. It's the club maker that's sending the ball forward and up into the air. So here we are with the sand iron, back and through. So it was a high tariff shot. The ball went high because there's 56 degrees of loft on my sand iron, or my sand iron putter as I call it. But it doesn't matter what the trajectory, whether the ball rolls on the ground, takes off and then runs, or flies all the way, you've got to imagine that your only job is to send the ball forward the right distance. So distance control is the same mentality. You're sending the ball forward. That's your job. It's the club maker's job to lift the ball, not yours. So that's a lofted shot at very close quarters. As I increase the distance of a sand iron chip or a lofted chip, the more acceleration there is, the more club head speed there is, the more spin is generated in an upward direction. But I've got to imagine that I'm sending the ball forward. So I'm going to go to the second flag, same technique, but hitting the shot a bit harder. Now you can see that as I add club head speed in, the ball flies higher, and happily it stops quicker. Now subconsciously your mind is saying, well surely if you impart that much power to the ball, it's going to go too far. But that's where you've got to remind yourself that most of the power you're generating is going into up, not into forward. So here we go again to the middle flag. I'm sending the ball forward. And the club maker sends the ball up. And you can see, without any fancy stuff, no open stance, no wrist hinge, I'm starting to generate quite a lot of spin and therefore stop. It's just a question of convincing yourself that this is the fact. On some courses, you have a shot off a bare lie and there's water behind the flag. That's rather a terrifying scenario. And you just got to stick to your guns and just remind yourself that you're putting. Now at this point, people like to pick a spot sometimes where they see the ball landing. And Jack Nicklaus certainly advocated that. The other school of thought is actually to look at the flag that you're going to and judge the overall distance. For me, if I judge to a spot, I'll compute to that spot and leave it short. I like to think about the overall distance of the shot. However, if you find picking a spot helpful to you, then that's the important thing. If it works for you, that's what you use. I'm just giving you the chance, or the choice, sorry. So here we go to the third flag. It's about 55, 60 yards away with the sand iron, back and through. You can see that I've taken no appreciable desert and the ball has flown high and landed softly. To be honest, it's about 6 feet short of where I would like it. And there always seems a bit of a cushion. If you've got the courage to throw the ball, I'm trying to slam dunk it. There we are. And you can hear from the strike that it was a pretty good golf shot. Amazing how much spin we can generate with 56 degrees and a bit of acceleration. So in distance control, compute the whole distance and let your body work out how hard to hit it. And if you're going to fail, fail on the brave side generally. Most poor short game shots are underpowered and underhit. If you can be courageous, get every putt past the hole and every chip to the hole, that will lop 2 or 3 shots around off your scores.